One of the things I'm currently engaged with right now is user interface design. And user interface design is largely about how people like us interact with tablets, computers, refrigerators, washing machines. And one of the things I've been told consistently ever since I started working with user interface design is that good user interface design must be invisible, which means that it works like magic, and that's pretty much what good workflow is all about. A well-optimized workflow must just work. The moment you start finding faults, you know that there's a problem with workflows. And my question to my experts out here is technology and technological workflows, are they overwhelming us? Because on one hand, manual workflows is about volume, but with technological workflows, there's so much you can do. Are we coping up with it? Ramesh?
I think it simplifies the way you have to deal with workflows as a business user. Other than reporting, there may be challenges with reporting, but in terms of the actual workflow, where someone needs to view something and probably take a decision or provide some additional information, your work list is kind of laid out for you at any given time.
Okay.
There's a to-do list.
Okay.
You don't have, it's kind of like the files coming to the desk, but instead of picking up a file and being at your desk, it's available to you wherever you can access your workflow. You don't have to be at your desk.
Okay.
And it's kind of sorted out and laid out for you. It's sorted and laid out for you to act on. So I think it does simplify. I don't think it complicates. The actual workflow part, it is simplified. And now with the modern tools kind of making it easily available on the mobiles, it makes it that much easier.
I'm going to touch upon mobiles in a completely different section. But sir, when it comes to the government space, are technologically enabled workflows overwhelming? How are you coping up?
As it is at present, it's not so much usage is there in workflows, for particularly in printing. Still, government uses a lot of printers, number of printers, and then a lot of paper also for printing. So slowly, we are also trying to come to workflow systems and online processes for all the internal process of the file movements. So, but bringing everything onto the workflow, as for this at present situation, it's very difficult in government. Unless otherwise we see the paper, we don't believe. So as long as signature is not there, my boss signature or my signature or my subordinate signature. So taking into account of that particular document, so it's still difficult for us to believe. So future, yes, it is. When it comes to already digital signature is authorized and digital signed papers are moving in between the offices. So once the digitally signed paper is available on the workflow, so then it takes in government also.
Meeraj, I'm going to ask you to step in on security, but before that, ma'am.
Especially in government sector, there is a need for total business process reengineering. If we really want that workflows should be in place and effectively used by different people, first step has to be taken in most of the organizations.
Meeraj, you've got a concern that says security out here.
So let me first state that the information, the proliferation of information is definitely a reality.
Right.
And again, coming back to the point that the information, it's the problem is not of a workflow.
Right.
The problem is of information flow, and the problem is also definitely adherence to some of these some of the guidelines and parameters which are which need to be met, and also how do you do that in a way? And sir, you rightly pointed out that digital signature now being an accepted practice will ensure that it is accepted across the organization, both inside and outside, as an accepted method of actually sharing information and acting on information. From a security perspective, it definitely means that we have to ensure that when information is shared on the ramp or down the ramp, so basically when you're uploading and as well as you're downloading that information, there are you authenticate that who's authenticated to do what, to access which set of information is to be made available, and can this be made possible by setting guidelines and parameters, right? Is exactly the solution to this to this problem.
A slow, steady way to actually.
Absolutely, and we are seeing this that sir, you rightly pointed out that it's increasing. One of the very good examples, a lot of government departments utilize the Directorate General of Supplies and Distribution, what we very commonly call as DGSND, as a very preferred mode of as one of the modes of procuring procurement. For the last 3 years, it's absolutely paperless. All orders are now being placed online, and the complete information workflow complete information flow is happening digitally.
And when it comes to workflows within an organization, what are these tiny red flags that you need to stop and say, hang on, these are issues that need to be rectified? How do you know that your workflow is having a problem? What are these red flags that would make you stop in your tracks and say, here's time for me to redesign this process?
I think the efficiency is one key factor. If for some, the whole idea of getting a workflow is to speed up things. You want to reduce the errors and you want to make it more convenient and generally speed up the process.
Right.
You don't want it stuck anywhere for whatever reasons. And the biggest red flag I see, which we're actually dealing with right now in our office, we are pretty much a paperless organization.
Okay.
The only paper signed is like where there is a legal angle, like for instance, anything HR documents in India. We don't do it elsewhere in the world. It's paperless even in HR, but here so other than those, we don't have, I never sign papers.
Okay.
And I run the whole India operations here.
Okay.
I never sign any paper. The biggest red flag I see, which we're dealing with right now, is performance. Sometimes errors, but we haven't seen any of those happen yet.
Are these human errors?
No, mostly the system bugs.
Okay.
System errors. So that would be the biggest red flag. Human errors probably, but then we did have a hand-holding initially.
Okay.
For almost like nearly 6 months.
Okay.
And it was a great phased rollout when we rolled this out 4 years back, this system that we have now. And it was rolled out country at a time. And there was someone that was physically here for 2 weeks.
Okay.
When it was rolled out in India.
Okay.
And like working with all the people, the main issue comes when they're uploading into the system. And then it's all workflow after that, it doesn't need too much of training. But it's only while uploading where all the training was required.
Okay. What is alert signal for you, ma'am?
For us, mainly human element is there. We have to deal with the big change management because I come from a coal industry where our internal customers knowledge level as well as external customers knowledge level is different. And in that scenario, adaptability of workflow is a big challenge.
Okay.
That is what, if we plan a workflow, we have to give lot of training to even our customers who are actually not very
as advanced as you.
advanced,
Okay.
yeah. So that is the big area where we have to
So here the problem is
concentrate.
outside your
Yeah.
perimeter of control. But sir, 85% paperless, what are the errors that you see which stop you and try to reevaluate your entire processes?
Say particularly human issues and training them and change their attitude and then making availability of the infrastructure first. And other than that, all of you know that power also very important factor, wherein if I need to put my gadgets everywhere in the state, so it's another big issue for them. So because all the available, everything is available except power, so there won't be any communication or anything from the ground level.
Meera, just curious, we've seen actual real-time uses of these kind of processes, and it makes sense for companies to adopt more optimized processes. But if a company weren't, willing to adopt a new workflow process, apart from time and money, what else is a company losing?
So when we are looking at any technology, what we need to keep in mind is that the user should be able to use it with the least amount of technical knowledge. And how do you actually make that very intuitive? How do you make it touch, for instance, is supposed to be the most touch, pinch, zoom, and just click happens to be one of the most I would say, intuitive way of handling this.
Yeah.
So, when we are looking at some of these new products, right, we are doing exactly that, right? So what we are doing is that we are giving users the ability to, to very intuitively use it, touch, zoom, pinch, move, and with preset functions, the quick set functions that I just mentioned, sir, right? If we can eliminate 3 or 4 steps by automating it into a single step, which can be accessed by just clicking or touching one button, right? From a training perspective, it will ensure that the user finds it, their fear or their inability to use that would pretty much go away. So that is one point which we believe, as we work towards moving this technology to the there would be some adopters who are more comfortable and conversant with technology. As we move to the next level, as you mentioned, sir, we move to the next level of cities, and it brings in its own set of challenges in their in people. We need to do that training. We need to make it available and easy for them. That's where it can actually make a huge huge difference.
Devices and mobile phones. You told me that the financial documents are on the mobile. The accountancy hasn't reached out there. Seems like a pain point.
It is. So we are dealing with it on 2 sides. Okay. One, as a business ourselves, we are on the consuming end for our own workflows and such. And then we are also a technology provider in that space. So as a technology provider, for us, like single sourcing is the key. Like anything, whether it is a workflow or any other, into real-time analytics and such. So the mantra for the last 2 years, definitely the last year, has been that we should do it in a way that when the user defines something, it could be like a workflow, could be a dashboard, could be like a report, or whatever they define, off the bat, it should be fairly device adaptable. So the user is not required to go create one form for a laptop and another one for an iPad and something else for a smartphone. It should adapt and
responsive technology.
Yes, so where it's aware of it, and then it's done in a way that like it can easily adapt to the devices, and so that's the key as a technology provider. As a consumer of technology, like we are struggling. Like I said, some of our systems are smartphone ready, and some are not even like, leave alone smartphone, they're not even like a tablet or even a PC outside of the VPN ready. Okay. And a laptop outside the VPN ready. So again, like you know how it is, like business decisions take time. So we have a system that works, and to move to something, or we wait for the vendor to provide the support in this case. We're using a third-party solution.
Fair enough. In your domain, ma'am?
This mobile technology adoption is in very initial stages. Okay. We have only very few small applications which are available on mobile, like knowing stock of a particular item in the company, and lot more is to be done, but we have taken first step and we are going ahead with it. As far as this paperless part is concerned, we have implemented so many things in our company, where earlier we used to print invoices and used to give to our customers. That is totally stopped now. Similarly, selling notes and other things are there, but when it comes to dealing with the not well qualified people, we have to go for printing, and a lot of printing takes place in Singareni.
Meeraj, a lot of words like paperless, and that obviously means that there's a storage issue in question. There's a cloud picture that comes in as well. How do you manage with the security issue, and how do you solve the problem also about multiple devices? How do you look at it?
So the first thing is that with multiple ways to access information, we need to recognize the fact that users will choose the device which is convenient to them, right? Yep. So that's a reality which none of us can actually shy away from. Now the point that comes in is that given the fact that users would want to reach out for information using multiple devices, we need to have a method by which we can actually make that information available securely, one, and the second thing is that when all that information is available to them, it also means that there will be some need for us to be able to print from those mobile devices. So if I look at mobile devices, information flow can happen both ways, right? You will access information, and there will be a need for you to also print that information in the proximity of of a printer, right? So typically the typical mindset is that you print only from your PC, which is no longer the case. So the mantra is that, one, it is a reality that we need to accept, and we need to actually work towards making that possible. And all the printers that we have, in fact pretty much the entire range of printers that we have, barring a few entry level printers, all of them support, for instance, they support wireless printing in a secure manner, because it authenticates who the user is, it accounts for what the user is supposed to do and allows them to do only that, right? So there would be a certain set of users who are allowed to to print a certain kind of information. There are certain users who are allowed to actually access a certain folder for information, which can be you can do that using simple password, or you can have multiple ways by which you can govern that. So you decide, set a policy, authenticate, account for it, and give people the freedom and flexibility. So all the devices, all the smartphones which you can think of, all of them can print. So they can print in two ways, right? In the proximity of a wireless printer, it can detect the printer, and there are apps available which are embedded, right? So Android, there are Android apps, right? There are on Apple, iPad, you have it as embedded into the operating system itself. It detects the printer and it allows you to print. And taking it to the next level, what if you want to print, which is you print a document where you are not in the proximity of the device, right? What if you want to print something sitting here, right? I mean, if there is some office which is in Warangal where we have to print, right? And you want to print a document which you want somebody to see, right? Is there a way by which it can be done? So there are technologies available, like we have the HP ePrint technology, which essentially the printer has an email ID. So as long as that you have that email ID, all you have to do is send a mail to that email ID, and it prints. So you could be 1 block away, or you could be sitting in the US printing to your office here. So you could be capturing information, sending information, or printing that information. It could happen in absolutely far away locations.
I have something to ask all of you in this case. The kind of uses that you're explaining right now have fairly obvious adoption reasons. But what are the biggest reasons that you're witnessing why companies are refusing to adopt newer workflows, newer technologies? What is the primary issue here? Is it cost, or is there something else that I'm not able to put my finger on?
If you look at it from an end business, government of course has a lot of resources, the IT department, so government can kind of look at building custom solutions even.
Right.
And government should also, because it's the impact is so huge. But when it comes to businesses, most of them probably may not have the resources or the luxury of time and money to do it. So for them, off-the-shelf solutions are key. And which would mean like they have to become first-class entities into business solutions that they buy.
Okay.
The workflow should be built in. Whether it's an ERP solution or an accounting system or whatever they get, it should be built in.
Okay.
The one that I see a trend over the last few years is the do-it-yourself processes.
Okay.
Now that's probably where like some of the things where there's a lot of controls and like the financial
Could be a bit of a
processes.
problem as well.
It is, but so not in the key processes like the financial.
Okay.
There's a lot of controls, so there you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
But today we don't look at workflow beyond those.
Okay.
We look at workflow as something that is defined and approved by senior management. IT comes and builds it, and like so those are all only like there are studies that show that less than 10% of the processes in an organization are of that kind.
Okay.
There are 90% of processes which are don't need that kind of structure, but processes are followed and they're either driven by email or email and phone calls or like with some paper. So that's where like if the do-it-yourself processes get adopted, then I think there's going to be a lot more workflows in organizations. And I do see the trends in the technology space on the provider side where technology is coming up that makes it easy for a non-IT business user to define a workflow.
Okay.
And then share it with others. Could be a departmental solution, could be within a group, in whatever much smaller scale than what the IT processes are. So the remaining 90% will, at least good number of them will start getting automated in the years to come.
Fantastic. Ma'am?
When technology is available like e-print and then printing on cloud, scanning on cloud. So basically this availability of technology is driving people to define their workflows.
Yes.
Yep.
So it is the other way around in, I think, in government sector. We see technology that it is available, okay, we prepare our workflows according to that. We don't have already built workflows.
Would be the biggest validation of your work?
Absolutely, that's a great point actually, because it's what technology can do for you, right? And that brings ideas
Yes.
on how it can be, how it can actually.
So
be used.
having just heard that, are there any kind of teething problems that one can expect when you use like multifunction printers? What must an organization be ready for? Is it going to be a bandwidth hog? Is it going to be trying to rejig your security infrastructure? What kind of issues will I have to be cognizant of?
Let's look at it. Let's look at an organization which is possibly not as savvy.
Okay.
Right. Let's look at an organization that possibly does not have all these resources. Right. So are these products designed only for very large organizations which are which have all the infrastructure and understanding and technology specialists, or can they be applied somewhere where it's not there, right?
Okay.
So if I take that as an example, look at an organization which is not a large organization, maybe a medium-sized organization or a small organization. Can you just mentioned that some of these processes are very clearly defined and some of them are not so clearly defined, but they are a little more informal, but they exist, right? So are we able to support them? In most organizations which are not so tech savvy, they don't have all these all these IT resources. The need is that the device needs to be simple and easy to use intuitively, right? And that's one factor which very clearly right, ma'am just said that when you see what it can do for you, then you start thinking of
What all you can do
with it,
Yeah.
right? So that's one. Is the device by itself, right? What a device can achieve by itself is nothing other than what it can actually achieve for that organization to further that organization's goals, right? Okay. Whatever the business or whatever the goal of that organization is, right? Whether it is a social goal or whether it is a commercial goal, right? Can it further that goal, which is by actually having information flow happen in a more predictable, faster, and more efficient way. The third thing, is it is it scalable enough?
Okay.
Right? Will it grow? Is it modular? Is it scalable? Can those building blocks be put together in such a way that as you grow, right? All those building blocks, they stay relevant, and you are able to build your infrastructure using that. And then most important is, while you do all of this, how are you able to do that, right? Every organization possibly does not have all that money,
Okay.
right? How are you able to do that, both in terms of acquisition and also in terms of your running cost and your complete cycle
Right.
of operations, right? How can you actually keep that within control?
Thank you very much for joining us here today, and thank you for watching Bloomberg TV India.